Hello, this is FolaFayo. How is everybody doing? How is everyone doing? Okay, so we have some gists, some gists to do today. We have some gists today. Okay, I really don't, is that Spanish or what language is that? El gusto es mío. Wow, I'm not sure what language, but I do hope you understand English. Because I'm going to be delivering this session in English. I do hope that you will understand. But thank you for joining. I appreciate this. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me today on another session of Thriving Thursday. And I've been putting a bit of notice and reminders out that today we're going to be talking about questions and turning points. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about that. But first of all, I want to say thank you and well done to everyone who has already joined our community on Facebook. Since last week, Thursday, we've announced that. Oh, it's your pleasure. Prosper, I see that. Okay, yes, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so thank you everyone who has already joined our Facebook group, Thrive Like Cedar. This is a community of everyone who is intentional to grow, to thrive, to take actions to learn. You know, that's what we are trying to do in the community. We're trying to make sure we provide that platform for people to be able to get that kind of experience that they should have in a learning environment, right? That's what we will be offering on the Cedar platform. So for everyone who has joined, for those who have been with us from inception, when we used to use the name Thrive at Home, thank you for staying on. And for those who have just joined us, thank you for joining us as well. Okay, so I'm excited about you all being with us, and I'm especially excited, you know, for everyone who got their journal in the last 1 week since we put it out. Thank you and well done. Well done. We've gotten feedback that have been very, very encouraging, and I'm excited about the change that everyone will begin to experience as well as they, you know, continue to make use of it, talk to their friends about it, and buy it. We had a discount for those on the group, which expires today. So if you still want to get it at a 50% discount, which was the discount we're offering everyone who was already on the group, then you want to make sure you get it today. So you need to be part of the group to get to know the code, and then use the code at checkout to get a 50% discount. But it's actually going for just $5. And I'm believing very much that it's something, I know that it's a journal that will bring a lot of changes. Thank you, Bumi Ayeni, for joining as well. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining. Okay, so to everyone who's already part of Thrive Like Cedar, once again, well done and congratulations. And for everyone who has got their journal already, congratulations. I'm excited for you. Questions, turning points. Okay, so I asked a question earlier in the week. And the question was this: what is that one question that has brought you to a turning point in life? What is that one question? What is that one question that has brought you to a turning point in your life? Thank you, Tosanwell, for joining. Okay, so we have started gisting today already. So the one question, I want to know what one question. Yeah, Bencharis Ventures, thank you for joining as well. Yes, so what one question, Fumi Jurotoye, hello, thank you for joining on Facebook. What is one question that you would say brought you to a turning point in your life? What is that one question? I would like to know. I want to share my story today. I want to share a story today about myself. And I wanted to know what one question. So I want, even if it's just two people who are able to type something before I go on, because I like to squeeze this session into 30 minutes. For those who know me, if you give me the rope, I can take a very long rope talking and sharing, okay? And, you know, gisting. I love to gist with people, especially when it's something that would change the situation for them. Okay, so the question is, what is that one question, right, that you were asked or you asked yourself that brought you to a key turning point in your life? I just want one or two people. I want one or two people to tell me what their own question was. What was that one question? Hi, Kunle Olubero, I see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining. If you're on Facebook, please, you need to like wave or say hello so that I can also, you know, welcome you properly, because I can't see everyone who is on Facebook with me, except you drop a wave or an emoji. Yes. What is that one question? Okay, while you're all thinking about the question, because I have some sample questions that I want to throw out today that I'm sure many people did not even think they were turning point questions, okay? I'll come back to that. But while we're waiting for people to give us that answer, and the question again is this: what is that one question that brought you to a turning point in your life? What is that one question? Okay, so while we wait for anyone to think about that, I would like to tell you my own story about how a question brought me to, man, let me say, a very major turning point, a crossroad that has changed a lot of things for me. A crossroad that has changed a lot of things for me. Okay, so some years ago, and how many of us know the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? How many of us have read the book? Or some of us, how many of us have heard about the book before? So if you've heard about the book or you've read the book, can you just give me a wave or say, oh yeah, I know about the book? I would like to know how many people have read the book. If you've read the book, please let me know. Drop a wave, thumbs up. I know the book, I know the guy, or I've read some of his other books, but Outliers, I've not read it. Do we have anyone in the house today who has read the book? Okay. So while we wait for people to still give me answers on that, because like I said, okay, I see Fortified Together telling us he's read the book before. Okay, you know about the book, Kule Olugbero. Okay, cool. I just needed at least one or two people to tell me they know about the book. So it won't be like, FolaFayo wrote another book today that we don't know anything about. Okay, I need to know that I'm not the only one in the house who even knows the writer or the author of the book, Malcolm Gladwell. Fumi knows about the book because she's ready. Thank you. Okay, good. Now I read that book, and one key highlight from the book for me. So the book basically tries to demystify what it is to be a genius. So many of us have heard about geniuses in different spaces, scientists mostly, mathematicians, bankers, salespeople, speakers, and we're like, oh my goodness, this person is a genius. This person is a genius baker. This person is a genius scientist, inventor. Facebook founder is a genius. He was thinking about great things, right? Yeah. So I read the book as well when it became a trend. And the takeout for me from the book was this principle, that it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to be world-class in any field. 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, not just doing things casually, doing it deliberately, doing it over and over again. Yes, to become world-class in any field. Okay, so I could have taken my learning from the book and gone ahead to say, okay, fine, what area of my life do I want to become world-class in? Which I think is a very wonderful approach, and to continue to do it. But you will be shocked to find the question that started coming up in my heart weeks after I read the book. A question that kept coming up in my heart weeks after I read the book. Let me share with you that question. What happens to the man who spends 10,000 hours in God's presence? That was the question that came to me when I read the book. Because I was thinking, okay, if it takes 10,000 hours to become world-class in a field, then what happens to a man who spends 10,000 hours in God's presence? And at that time, Twitter was a reigning thing. Of course, Instagram had started then, some years back. This is about 2013, 2014, when that question came to my heart. And I was asking that question. So what I did was I just tweeted about it and I tagged some of the people I knew who were Christians. And I was just hoping that, someone would give me an idea. A few people responded, but that question didn't leave me. And it kept tugging at my heart. Now, eventually, what now happened to me is that I started looking at my life and saying, how am I going to achieve 10,000 hours in my lifetime of having time in God's presence? Hi, Oluchi, I see you. And Kayode Sawyer, thank you for joining us. I started asking myself, how am I going to be able to incorporate 10,000 hours of my life in God's presence? I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, yes, I pray in the morning and I have my quiet time in the day and I go to church on Sunday. I fellowship with some believers during the week and I do, but how many hours are those? I mean, I was trying to think. I was like, I can't be the same person. I can't be the same person if I'm spending 10,000. I cannot be just like if you're spending 10,000 hours playing a recorder or playing a piano. I mean, look at the Williams sisters. They've been playing tennis since they were kids. Before they go to school, their dad will take them to a tennis court. And then they will play a bit of tennis, then go to school, and after school, they will come back. I mean, it's no wonder they are doing grand slams. I was like, okay, if that can happen in any field, and they are distinguished in that space, that means it is possible for me, if I'm spending 10,000 hours in God's presence, to be different from the regular person. And I was like, there has to be something different. This is something spiritual. Now I'm going a bit spiritual. So I know those of us who may not be Christians and all that may be like, okay, FolaFayo, what are you talking about today? No, just stay with me, please. I'm just trying to bring out a concept here. And then I started asking myself, how am I going to achieve 10,000 hours in God's presence? Okay, so while thinking about it, I looked at my days, I looked at my time. I'm like, oh, 24 hours in a day. What if I start tightening my hours in a day? And like about 2.4 hours. Okay, what if I make it 3 hours? And I'm like, okay, let's start. Anyway, at the end of the day, that led me to me having what I call a tarry time. My children know about my tarry time. My husband knows about my tarry time. And I started taking time to deliberately spend it. Not my quiet times that I have in the morning or in the evening or fellowship times. I was taking out time, extra time during the week just to spend time in God's presence. I'm like, God, there must be something that will come out of this. I believe I want to be deliberate about this. I want to be deliberate about my change. Even though at that time I was basically looking more at, okay, it's going to do some growth for me, my spiritual life and all that. But it was doing growth on my inside, in my spirit, and it started to show in every other area of my life. Today, I can tell you with all humility that a lot of things that I'm doing today were birthed out of that tarry time in God's presence. And it was only because I asked myself that question, what happens to a man that spends 10,000 hours in God's presence? So it changed my routine. It changed a lot of things for me. I started getting direction, leadings on different things. When you see me use the word perception shaper, I got it from my tarry time. It was not as if I sat down somewhere and I just thought, oh, what would be a nice name to use? It was a name that I got because I was spending time in God's presence. I'm not kidding about, I'm not kidding about this. I got that name, spending time in God's presence. And I can tell you that Crossroads Live, which is like an offshoot of my podcast, was also something that was birthed from that. I can tell you that Thrive at Home, which is an initiative where I support those who are home-based, was birthed out of my tarry time. And of late, the masterclass that we had some weeks back to serve as an intervention to support people, which is now an online course, the podcast series Adjust the Sales, the journal that is out now to support many people to start their development and personal development life and to come into a thriving life, everything was birthed from there. Just because I asked that question some years ago, I didn't have the answers. And even today, I can't categorically tell you, this is what will happen to you when you spend 10,000 hours in God's presence, right? But I can tell you that it brought me to a turning point. Questions have a connection with turning points. Anthony Robbins, in his book, Awake the Giants, he said this: the quality of our lives is a direct reflection of the quality of the questions you are asking yourself. Or let me add, the question that you're also allowing other people to ask you. The quality of our lives is a direct reflection of the quality of questions that we are ready to ask ourselves or that we are asking ourselves. So what questions are we asking ourselves? What questions are we permitting people to ask us? Because I can tell you from my own experience now, and that is not the only, I mean, I have a lot of questions that I've asked myself in the last few years of my life as an adult, right? That have led me to significant changes, right? And brought me to transformations, turning points, and all of that. I can tell you that has been my experience. So I'm asking us, what kind of questions are we asking ourselves? And what has our experience been so far? Now, earlier on today, when I was trying to prepare for this session, I was able to put down 5 key things, that we can get out of the kind of questions we ask ourselves. But I just want to touch on 3 things right now from the 5 because of time. I'm going to touch on 3 things. One is that if we're asking ourselves, so I'm going to touch on 3 things that will be the benefits, just like the kind of benefit that I had with the question that I asked myself, right? And that is this: the quality of the questions you ask yourself, or asking yourself, allowing yourself to be subject to questions, right? Letting the questions happen will bring you through turning points. Because when we get to crossroads in our lives, we ask ourselves, let's just like saying when you're driving into a new neighborhood and you're at a junction, some people call it crossroads, some people call it junctions and all of that. And you're like, you have a left turn you could take, you have a right turn you could take, and you could go ahead. You ask yourself, which way do I go? Except you already knew the way to where you're going. You would get to that point and you would ask, you don't want to make a mistake. What question would you be asking? Most likely it's going to be, do I take left, right, or do I go ahead? Questions bring us through turning points in life. There are major turning points some of us have come through in life, that the questions will help us to know how to move forward. So for example, when you're thinking, many of us have been seeing a lot of people doing things online of late. They've been challenging and inspiring us. And some of us have actually thought, oh, maybe I should write an ebook. Or maybe I should start a podcast. Or maybe I should collaborate with someone and do a live session. And then as you begin to ask those questions, self-sabotage, doubts, fears start coming in. And you start saying, who are you to even do a live session? Or your voice sounds funny online. Have you heard yourself? Then you start discouraging yourself. Do you know how you look online? You don't even sound right. Are you going to sound like this person or sound like that person? But let me tell you a question you should be asking yourself at such a crossroad. What if I win? What if I make it? What if I win? What if I make it? Those are the questions you should be asking. Okay? The another thing that questions do to us is that they help us to spot opportunities. When you ask yourself the right questions, you trigger the law of attraction into your life. You trigger the law of attraction into your life. So for example, if you ask yourself a question like, how can I afford the brand new BMW for those of us who like BMWs? Or how can I afford a cruise holiday with my family? Because you're asking yourself, how can I afford? Which is a quality question as against, can I afford it? Can I afford it just says yes or no, and then most likely you go to sleep. But when you say something like, how can I afford it, right? What happens is you now start thinking, maybe if I save, maybe if I invest, maybe if I have an opportunity to do something that will bring me a particular amount of money, or maybe I should start looking, then you now start asking yourself series of questions. And you know what happens? Because you've set something in motion in your mind and in your heart, you start to attract those opportunities. You start to attract the opportunities that will lead you into your getting answers to those questions. And of course, the last one out of the 5 that I will have mentioned today because of time is that your outlook and your paradigm will change when you ask yourself some questions. So when the lockdown started happening in many cities all over the world, organizations started asking themselves, how are we going to serve and stay in touch with our clients despite the lockdown? That was the question they were asking. So even organizations that have never patronized anything on Facebook, Zoom, Instagram, everybody has taken to social media now. Everybody has taken to social media now because they are asking themselves, how do I stay relevant? How do I stay connected? How do I keep engaging my clients? Because they are asking those questions. Then their paradigms, their outlooks, their routine begins to change. So those top 3 things that I've mentioned about the quality of questions is going to take you through a turning point. It's going to help you to trigger the law of attraction, and it's going to change a paradigm for you. Now, but what questions are we asking ourselves? What questions? Earlier on, I asked us, what questions have we asked ourselves? What quality questions have we asked ourselves? Onoyemi, thank you for joining us. Onoyemi D, thank you for joining us on Instagram. And for everyone who has joined us on Facebook, like I said earlier, Fumiolede, I see you. Thank you for joining. Sorry, I'm just seeing your comment. For anyone on Facebook, please, I need you to give me a wave or drop a line so I can see that you're there. And if you're watching the replay, just put hashtag replay whenever you get to watch it. So then you're asking yourself, what kind of questions should I be asking myself? Let me tell you, when I looked through this, my notes earlier today on some things that I didn't want to mentioning to us is questions that some of us have forgotten that we have ever asked someone or they've asked us. So if you are married in the house, will you marry me? That's a question that brought you to a turning point. Yeah, will you marry me? Me, I know someone asked me that question. That's why I'm married today. I know someone asked that right now. Every married guy in the house, you ask the lady that, will you marry me? That was a question that you asked yourself. You probably asked yourself that question before you asked her. Because talking about destiny and partnership for life. Okay? And then for some of us is, should I take this job? Will I perform well in this role? Is this job opportunity too big for me? Is this opportunity too big for me? Okay? For some people, like I said earlier, you are being challenged to come online to do something. And the question I feel you should be asking ourselves is, what if someone will really like what I'm doing? What if someone will really like my song? I know someone in the house right now who sings. What if someone will really like my song? What if someone will really be blessed if I release that worship song into the world? What questions are you asking now? Are you even asking yourself questions? Or you just wake up every day and just follow a routine, day after day, 24/7, all the way to the end of the week. And then a new week starts and we are like, oh, it's Monday again. And then we say, thank God it's Friday. And some of us are really, really desiring transformation in our lives, but we've not really realized that questions are the things that will lead us to that transformation. We're not really aware of that. Okay, but let me tell us today what I think could be preventing some of us from asking quality questions. Some of the things that I've learned, that I've discovered could be preventing some of us from asking ourselves the right questions that can move us from where we are to where we really, really want to be. Okay? So one easy thing that comes to my mind is this. We were not raised to ask questions. Some of us were not raised to ask questions. We're brought up in environments or families where, if you ask a question and the adult doesn't know the answer, they're likely going to tell you, stop that. Why are you asking that kind of silly question? Because they don't know the answer. And we are even in a safer place now, we who are parenting, because we can easily check Google or tell our children, go and check Google or check it with them, right? And then we get the answer to things. But then there was no Google. For many of us, we grew up not knowing where to get answers to things. Even when we heard of maybe things like, oh, how do I make a particular soup? For those of us who are from Nigeria or something, a soup from another maybe tribe, you want to learn how to cook it, but you don't have a friend from there. You don't even know the ingredients. Now you can go to YouTube, you see some of the people who have channels on cooking, and you can get the ingredients, cook it, and that's it. So you have a place. But growing up for many of us, we were silenced when we asked questions that challenged the adults around us. So we did not grow up feeling comfortable to ask those kind of questions. Another reason is that even as adults, we feel uncomfortable when we ask some questions because we feel like questions make us look like we are not educated, or they maybe make us look foolish. So maybe you're someone who's been on Instagram for a long time. Maybe you even have up to tens of thousands of followers. And there's someone who just started on Instagram, started doing something with Instagram that you did not know about, and then you feel a little bit, challenged that the person is new into the space and the person knows so much already. But you feel somehow asking the person because you're thinking, I have 10,000 followers. I have tens of thousands of followers on Instagram. How can I ask someone that has 1,000 followers on Instagram for something? I should know more. So sometimes we feel uncomfortable because we think we should know more. I've been in this industry before this person, but the person is seeing results. The person is seeing results. So we feel uncomfortable. Or when we go for conferences and we're like, oh, I'm the MD of this, I'm the founder of this. And then they tell us to ask questions. You're like, and then you're like, you don't want to look foolish. You don't want to look silly. You don't want to look uneducated. So you don't ask questions. Then, of course, another reason why many of us don't ask questions is we're not even in an environment that even triggers questions in us. We're in a place where nobody's asking us any question. An environment where everybody just accepts the status quo. So you're in an organization, maybe a school, a company, a church, and they will tell you, we've been doing this thing for 5 years. Like I mentioned in one of my live sessions, previous live sessions, and I was trying to ask, someone, is it possible for us to do this thing online? And their initial response was, oh, nobody has the time, nobody's good. Now everybody's taking their things online, because I ask a lot of questions as an individual. I know some of us, we're not natural with it, but we can learn. But then when you're not in an environment where you can continually ask questions, it gets really bad. Because you're not asking questions that will bring the change for you. So what are my top tips on making sure that you are constantly challenging yourself with the right questions? Stay in an environment where questions are being asked, or where you can ask a question without sounding or without feeling like you don't know anything. So it's either you are in a community where they are asking you questions, or when you ask questions, they will answer you. So, of course, I want to recommend Thrive Like Cedar, because we ask questions there. Sometimes you get the questions directly in your DM or your inbox, and sometimes we ask the questions openly. But I've realized that we're in a culture where we're in an environment, or should I say generation, where many people have not become comfortable with questions, and so they don't really want to come out to say anything. But, it's in answering those questions you are helping yourself. As you answer the questions, you're helping. I talked about how I started seeking a solution to what happens to a man that spends 10,000 hours in God's presence. And that has brought me so much profound, significant, I don't even know what other adjective to use, changes in my life. That's brought me to turning points. So you need to be in an environment that you're continually being asked questions, or you can ask a question from the admin or the moderators, and you will be answered. So that's my first recommendation. So if you're someone, you're not in a space where people are asking questions, at least, even if you're not the one asking questions, let others even start it, trigger it, and then see how their questions are being answered. You would learn. So you would learn either because people are asking and you're seeing their answers, or you're asking, or you are making an attempt to answer some questions that are asked. Okay? Then, of course, I know some people will be like, oh, FolaFayo, all these things you're teaching us, I need to take it baby steps, little steps. I need to start somewhere, or I'm not even sure where to start. I would recommend the journal. Seriously, I would recommend the journal. I had a conversation with someone who got the journal, and she told me that she even had conversations with her children using the journal, that she had never really thought about taking time to look into values. She has values, that she's using to live her life, but she has never really had those conversations with her children. Let me tell you one of the pages that is in the journal, okay? And that's the money planning, the financial planning page. And it asks you these questions. When you make your next million. So if you want to make $5 million, $1 million, 50 million naira, just put the digits. The million is there, and then the currency. So if you want it in pounds, in euros, some of us are thinking foreign currency right now. We're not just looking at the local currency that we're spending in our countries, okay? And then it asks you, how do you want to spend it? Because some of us are like, when I hit my next 100 million naira, my first $1 million, good, great target. But what are you going to spend the money on? That's a big question. I know that as a child, when my allowance was still probably maybe 700 naira, 1,000 naira per month or something, I had a journal where I used to write how I'm going to spend my first 50,000, 500,000 naira. I was writing it then as a teenager, how I'm going to spend. I maybe that's one of the things that is helping me to ask myself bigger questions today. What are you going to spend your next -million on? It's in the journal. It's one of the pages in the journal. You need to start asking yourself what you want to spend the money on. Okay? So that's why I encourage you. You want to take the baby steps in asking questions. You're like, what kind of questions should I be asking myself? Don't worry. The journal has worksheets of questions from what are you grateful for? How do you want to spend money? What are you thinking? What are you learning? What are you going to do with what you're learning? It's all in the journal. Very simple, basic questions. But when you start to answer them, it begins to bring you to a shift. That is what I believe will happen. You will experience a shift. Okay? Then, of course, another way is to engage a counselor. If you're really going through a tough time right now in life, I've had conversations with people that has made me realize that people are going through so much. And I'm wondering, why are you not reaching out for help? And there are people who can help you. If you engage a coach, if you engage a counselor, if you engage a mentor, they will ask you questions. They want to first of all know where you are so that they can help you to where you want to be. They will ask you, where are you now? They will ask you, where do you want to be? If you go into a doctor's office, the first thing the doctor will ask you is, so what is wrong? When did this start? How bad is the pain? Where exactly is paining you? Because they want to know. They want to help you to find a solution. Questions will lead you to your solutions. So if you need to engage a counselor, if you need to engage a coach, if you need to engage a mentor, get one. Then, of course, another way you can also get the right questions in your space continually is follow individuals, people that would challenge your thinking. And they can be younger than you. They can be newer into that space. But if they have solutions and answers that you don't have yet, they're the right people to follow. Now, I'm not saying you should imbibe their values if they don't gel with your person, but at least will it move the eye of the needle for you? You need to follow people who will challenge you. I mean, for anyone who's on Instagram, you'll probably see the template I'm using right now. I have one of these influencers on Instagram who I'm following, and I saw the template she was using. And I was like, this is beautiful. How can I get this done? That was the question I asked. How did she do it? And I started playing around with my phone. So I know she said that's Tricia B's. I'm not sure if I got the name right. But, she has templates she's selling now. But, before the templates were launched, I was like, let me see if I can play around all the tools I have on my phone and my laptop and see if I can work on it. I was asking questions because I was in a space where someone was challenging me with the new things she was doing. So you want to look at, is it possible for me to follow someone that can challenge me, that can inspire me? Do I need to read books? Do I need to change my circle of association? Thank you, Ovi Hats. Thank you, Kadudu. I hope I pronounced your name well. And Mott Salon for joining us tonight. Thank you. Yes. So you may need to be looking at the books you're reading, the content you're following on Instagram, Facebook, all of those places. Maybe you need to just stay in a place where you're continually being challenged. And Jumoke, Jane, thank you for joining as well. I see you. So you need to look at those solutions, the environment, the books, the people you're following. Do you need to engage a coach? Because if you really want change, you need to be asking questions. And if you find out that you're not at the level where you can ask yourself those questions, you need to permit someone to ask you those questions because it will lead you somewhere. See, Ken Coleman said this. Good questions inform. Great questions transform. Good questions inform. Great questions transform. You need to start asking yourself great questions from today. Fine Things Events, thank you for joining. Ovi Hats, hello. I think I called you earlier, but thank you again for being part of us tonight. If you want a transformation in any area, your finance, your marriage, your health, your relationships, your work, your career, you need to be asking the right questions. If you want transformation, you need to start with the right questions. And if you have the right people around you, you will ask the right questions. Is this the best industry for me? Am I making the best use of my talent here? Can I stay in this relationship any longer? Some of us need to ask ourselves those hard questions. Maybe we are in a relationship that is not moving us anywhere. We're frustrated. The other person is frustrated. So we need to ask ourselves, where do I go? How do I get those questions asked? Okay. So I don't know, do I have any questions tonight? Everybody's like taking it in. Everybody's taking it in. I see Fumi Oloyede has also contributed, saying that we should challenge ourselves, asking questions. Yes, definitely, we should. And Oluchi says that she was happy. She was happy to be here. She's happy to be here, rather. Yes, she's happy to be here with us. So the replay of this will be available. For those of you just joining us, please don't miss the next Thriving Thursday. I need you to be here with me live so that you can ask questions. You see, questions. So you can ask questions. I need you here with me live so you can ask questions. But you can send me a DM on Instagram. However, the best place to be part of this is Facebook, because with the Facebook, we archive these videos on the Facebook group, Thrive Like Cedar. So if you're not already on our Facebook group, you want to be part of it, because the videos are there. You can watch it anytime. You can respond anytime. We will see your responses. We will reply and definitely get answers to whatever you need. And of course, if I'm not the best person to give you that answer, I'm going to get a specialist to answer it for you. Because we are asking something on medical things now. There's little or nothing I can say in that area, but I can point you in the right direction, okay? To people who can probably give you the best answers on that, okay? All right. So that brings us to the end of me talking. Now, does anyone have any questions for me tonight before we round up? We always try to do 30 minutes. Today was like an extension. We don't usually do more than 30 minutes. I mean, well, we try to do about 30 minutes. We try to do just about 30 minutes, but I'm hoping we got something tonight. If you got something tonight and you've been with me, please just give me a wave if you got something tonight. Finding events, thank you. I saw the template somewhere and I tried to also learn how to do it on my own. It's a DIY. It's a DIY. I tried to do it on my own. Yes. So while I wait for our questions, for anyone who has questions for us before we drop today, I just want to quickly remind us that the journals are still very much available for purchase on FolaFayo.com. FolaFayo.com will take you to the purchase platform, the platform where you can purchase it. And there's a referral bonus as well, 20% if you refer someone. And if you prefer to have a Kindle version for our Kindle, those of us that like purchasing things on Amazon, we already have like a tab there, or the tab is ever open on our laptop. Yes, there's a Kindle version. There's a Kindle version. Okay, there's a Kindle version if you want a Kindle version of the journal. Okay, and now I see that a lot of people have gotten their journals. So what we want to do is we want to wait a bit more, for a little more, to get more people to still get theirs. And then we're going to have a session, a Zoom session. We will send invites strictly to those who have got their journals. So what I'm going to do in that session is to take us through how to maximize the pages of the journal. Because I know some people are already trying to, how do I use this page? And I've been encouraging, look, if you are stuck using any of the pages, please send me a message. Send me a message. And I've not gotten anyone booking any complimentary call yet, okay? So before, we have more people in the world signing up and all of that, we will have a maximize your journal session strictly for those who have got their journal. And we're going to take you through each page, how to use each page to your benefit. Okay. Then another news before I go today, we're going to have a free workshop. Yes, free workshop, Thriving Basics. We're going to cover basics to thriving. So yes, that's the concept we've been trying to push out with the Polished Lens company of late, and that's the concept of thriving. So we're going to have Thriving Basics. We're going to have a workshop. It's going to be free, but you need to register. It's going to be free 4 days. 4 days. I'm thinking it may extend to 5 days, but let's plan with 4. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time, but we will put out the information accordingly. And we're going to be talking about the basics. For you to build a house, you need to have the right foundation. So for us to fully thrive, we need to have some things in place. So the idea with the workshop is to bring us to master the basics that we require to fully thrive. Okay. So I'm trying to see if anyone still has questions for us today before we round. before we're done, before we round off for tonight. Questions and turning points. Thank you, everyone who has joined on Facebook. Thank you, everyone who has joined on Instagram. Thank you to you who is going to be watching the replay on Instagram or watching it on Facebook. Okay, I see that Igbadun Concept just joined us. Welcome. You can watch the replay. It's going to be on immediately I'm done. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Let's keep asking questions if we've always done that. And if for any reason we have not really been asking ourselves those questions, let's start to ask questions that will lead us to our transformation. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye-bye.